Esther.
Hi, Romina.
And hello, fellow overthinkers. This is Still Having Fun podcast, and we're so excited to host you for the next hour to talk about political, social, cultural topics with a dash
Or handful
of pop culture.
So basically everything.
And anything we want to talk about.
Keep in mind that the opinions we share are based on our personal and limited experiences. We will also put a timestamp of the topics we discuss in case a subject is ever triggering.
So thank you so much for being with us, wherever you are in the world. We hope that you enjoyed this episode.
All right, and we're back.
2022, and we're back for episode 10.
Yes, we are. And before we get into it, of course, we're going to do the land acknowledgement because even if we're recording now in our apartments, we are still on the traditional lands of the Haudenosaunee and Mohawk peoples here in Montreal.
Yes, that's true.
And do we want to say right away what we're going to talk about, or do we want to go over our holidays quickly?
Let's talk about our holidays because I think there's a lot of things that you guys missed.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can say what we're going to talk.
Okay, fair enough. So how was your holiday season, Romina?
It's been good. I mean, I've been pretty much at home,
Right.
watching TV and stuff. Not only because of the pandemic, but also because it's winter time. It's getting cold, so it's more like
Yeah.
coughing season for me. And also, I have a small little puppy that I adopted over the holidays. The story of how I adopted it is because I bought it at first for my mom
Right.
to give her like this like Christmas gift of unconditional love. But since I had to take care of him for 2 weeks prior to Christmas, I was just so attached, and yeah, we decided to adopt him. And there's his name is Cusco, and there's also a reason why we chose that name. I'm going to share with you guys later on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, how was your holiday?
It was good. I mean, I almost feel bad to say that I did go to British Columbia. I mean, obviously it's not like a good time to say that you traveled, and it's when I left, though, in my defense, I did leave early December.
Mm-hmm.
It was still okay to travel then. Of course, when I got back, it's not prohibited because it's within Canada, but it wasn't like encouraged. It was good. I mean, it was so weird there because I've talked about BC before and about growing up there and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it just does not cease to surprise me how they're handling, or not they, but just some people, and I guess it's the minority there. There's a minority of the population, specifically in Kelowna, BC, who are anti-mask, anti-vax, pro-conspiracy theory, right?
I think everywhere.
Yeah, of course. And that's the thing, is that I think it's not, something that's only happening there. And I do still believe that it is a minority, but I feel like because it's a small town, it's a valley, it's very isolated, if you will.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I feel like it feels bigger, because we have like one mall and just one of like a lot of things. So
Right.
when you're somewhere, that's pretty much where people are going to gather. And I was at the mall and I saw people more than anywhere else who weren't wearing masks.
Okay.
And it was almost like there were more people not wearing masks than wearing them. And it was so weird to me because we're so used to people with masks and not
in Montreal,
not,
yes.
yeah, not only
specifically
were
here.
they not wearing them, but they were like high-fiving
Oh,
and
okay.
being like, oh, good job, like, like we're heroes, we're not sheep, we're not all that. So it was really weird to see that, and to see that
Interesting.
pride as well, and this sort of alliance almost that builds from resisting, the pandemic and stuff like that. So it was quite special. While I was there, I heard of this organization called Action for Canada.
Okay.
And from my research, it does come from Vancouver or from BC. And it's really it's spearheaded by this extreme right Christian woman leadership. And it's really an organization that will go after any sort of establishment or any individual and or building company that gets that would get in trouble for not complying to any pandemic requirements. So you would get like, a ticket or something if, let's say, you don't close your gym when you're supposed to, right?
Right, yeah.
But then
Some
that
kind of
organization, yeah, exactly. But that organization exists to sort of take legal action. I don't know how legal or how legit this is, but they will send, whether it's official or official looking documents, to these places to scare them, and not into
like
closing,
police
but to scare
reinforcement.
people. Well, no, it's to scare people into not complying. I don't know if I'm being clear, but I'll give an example, okay?
Okay, yeah.
So I know
better.
someone there who is unfortunately quite close to me, who is anti-vax.
Okay.
And this person has booked a trip that's actually coming up, and it's in Revelstoke. And the ski resort in Revelstoke right now asks you to be vaccinated to visit their resort. Even if you're not staying, I think they're asking so that when you're in the chairlift to go up to the mountains, you may be close to people and you may not have your mask on or whatever. So they're requiring people to be vaccinated. And so this person who I'm close to decided to contact Action for Canada so that they could send the ski resort in Revelstoke a sort of threatening letter that would say, you can't do this. This is against Canadian rights and all that. So this organization will scare people, institutions or companies or whatever that comply with the COVID requirements. So I think that's a bit more clear, right?
Okay. So just to make sure that I understood, let's say I have a gym.
Yeah.
And I don't close it, right? Then they're gonna come after me.
No.
It's the reverse.
Yeah. So let's say you have a gym, you don't close it, and you get I'm trying to like think about the word for amende, like a...
Yeah, it's like a ticket or a...
Yeah.
Amendment. No, that's not what it is.
Yeah, like a ticket, or you get like... some
fine,
sort of...
a fine.
A fine, yeah, exactly. So you get a fine.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what the heck? Yes, I didn't close it, but I'm not paying this. I'm, anti-pandemic. You would contact Action for Canada and say, can you send, whatever, the government, I don't know, the institution, the company that gave me this fine, and scare them and say, this is illegal. This is against Canadian rights. You have no right to do this. Yeah.
It's like
so that's
to protect
so it's the reverse.
The workers or like the entrepreneurs.
It's to protect anti-vax and anti-pandemic. Yeah.
Right. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that exists.
Yeah. So like, again, I looked into it. In my personal opinion, really sketchy. And it's really, it is really within that fear. It works out of, let's scare people that comply with the pandemic. Right. And I think that they're justifying it to say, well, this whole pandemic is stemmed in fear already. It's in control. It's about the end of times and government taking over our brains or whatever. So what we're doing is not wrong, because like if they're going to play by fear, we're going to play by fear. I'm not saying this is not an official statement from what they said, but I feel as though, because at first I was like, okay, and I still feel that way, but I'm like, I feel like their reasoning is that, right? Is that they're fighting. Like they're like the strong, like Canadian, like, yes, let's get our rights back, like brigade, but,
Yeah, I do understand, like both sides. I don't think I will say, well, where I stand by. I mean, I had my 2 shots, my 2 vaccines and so on. But I believe that this pandemic is really, like feeding the fear around everything, around, social interactions, around, who you trust. Because now, again, it's like, should I trust you to hang out with you? Knowing that you may have seen other people. And now it's not just a simple question of how popular you are, but it's more of how many lives you put
Yeah.
at risk. So now that's like, is a big change of like of a speech where just being with a friend, like being there physically attending to an event or whatever means you're putting someone at risk.
Yeah, I personally don't understand it. On record, I don't comply with it. Because of how I was brought up, I have a very hard time when people mix in religion and government and all that. Like, it can get really scary really
Yeah.
fast. I think
Yeah.
it's a fair question to ask in regards to how
Mhm.
this impacts not only children but everyone's mental health.
Yeah.
Although I do think it's a question that we can ask in any era based on whatever, right? Because we still have the anxiety of, the environment going to shit. And we still have a lot of questions around, past generations, whether that be what food they consume, pollution,
Mhm.
whatever, So I think that there is always that question, but nonetheless, it's always important to ask it because, it's ever changing. So
Yeah.
no, I do agree. But yeah, it was really, weird being there. And I had so much anxiety. Like, oh my gosh, there were people sometimes I was with, and like they would, let's say, take off their mask.
Okay.
They were like in a public setting, and they would take off their mask just a second to, like, I don't know, like take a gum or whatever. And I would like start crying, So that fear that you talk about, I get it. And I think that, you and I are both in our 20s, and this is not me saying we're more important than if you're at another age, gap or group. But what I'm realizing is that, we're spending a good time of our 20s in a pandemic. And I think
Yeah.
that there is a big difference, and I'm saying this for myself, between being scared and being careful. And I was like, confusing the two. And I'm at a point now where I want to be careful, but
Yeah.
I'm still in my 20s and I still want to live. And that does not mean going on a plane to Cancun and partying.
Yeah. Oh
It
my God.
simply means that if there's a friend that I want to see that lives alone, to give myself the opportunity to, if we know that we're both okay, and, not have as much anxiety around it. Although I
Right.
will continue to prioritize to be careful for others. Like, and that's, definitely not even a question, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's very important, like you said, to make that difference of, being scared and, not doing anything and just be like, oh my God, I'm scared, I cannot move, or being careful, which is
Yeah.
it's another thing,
Yeah.
absolutely different. And we confuse it sometimes, both terms.
Right.
And we have now, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, all I wanted to add on that is that, we can still be careful. And now we have so many more tools that can, let us be careful and still be able to like reach and connect. Like even just right now, I mean, we used to like meet and record our podcast episodes. And today, for the first time, we are doing it in the comfort of our home. And like it was a question of like logistic and setup and all of that, but we're able to do that. And this is us, being careful but still having fun and still being able to connect and still being able to check in and to show up, even though this whole pandemic has changed so many people's lives. We still have this kind of like way to go through and not completely lose human touch.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I was going to ask you, super out of context, but is Cusco like chewing on a bone or something? Because I feel like when you're talking, I hear something. Is he doing something? Or maybe it's like one of your wires that's moving. I don't know, but
yeah, sorry.
No, don't be sorry. And I had I wanted to say also that we were able, and thanks to you, participate in a really cool networking event. When was this? Was it early
I want to say
November?
I want to say November, beginning of November, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a really cool event.
Yes.
It was like a podcasting networking event for podcasters in Montreal. And so the really cool thing about it is that you had podcasts that were in English and in French, and they were super different, right? Like we talked to different people that night.
So
and
many different topics.
Yeah, like it was
backgrounds.
And I feel like we didn't come across a lot of people that had similar podcasts.
Yeah, and the challenges of, of having a podcast, putting the ideas there, doing the editing process, and how, everything has been like a learning process. And just like us, and we thought we were like the only ones.
Yeah.
But turns out this problem, well, it's not a problem, but it's a challenge, was shared with so many other podcasters. So no, it was very great to like connect between us and, talk about things that most people that don't have a podcast can relate because they don't have a podcast. Yeah. But no, it was super interesting.
It was, and we made some really cool connections. One of them is the Debatable podcast. Sorry, I'm gonna repronounce that. The two women that we met, super cool. I feel like they were like our soul sisters, Seriously. Like it was like looking in a mirror. They have a really cool podcast, so please check it out.
Go check it out.
Their titles are iconic, as well as their themes, and just whatever they bring up and talk about is super interesting. So really recommend. And another one, which we will actually go on, which is a French podcast, is called Les Podcasts Impromptus. Yeah. Correct?
Exactly. That's what it is.
And so we met with them recently, and they sort of inspired us to, because today's the first day that we're trying to be unedited, right? And it's also the first time that we're recording ourselves live. And we honestly always had an idea for the podcast, which was super accessible, super inclusive, having a conversation, very down to earth. But for the first 9 episodes, we spent a lot of time in post-production, and that's not even and that's not even just us learning about how to actually do it, but we were really like harsh critiques of ourselves. Like we would really just edit out any time we would swallow, we would mispronounce. Like we've already looked for a French word in like a couple minutes. And it's okay, but we used to be like, no, we're going to be Anglophones and pretend that we know every single word. Like even Anglophones don't do that, right? So I feel like they really inspired us because their podcast is, impromptu means improvise in English, right? We looked it up before starting, and that's kind of a good translation of it.
Or at least it's a synonym, but it's, kind of the same idea.
Yeah, and it's
just being able to. Yeah.
And in a positive way, right? Like it's not in a random way. It's really in a way where like they have that openness for each episode to take them wherever it takes them. And there's no pressure, and it's very easygoing, and they have a drink, and it's really cool. So I think it would be a really cool experience for us.
I'm super excited
to do that and to do it in French too.
Yes, that's true. Because we do speak French, but we haven't, we're not like pro podcasters. We all the time that we spend making a podcast is in English usually. So that's going to be like a different angle to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see, the final results, see how it's going to be.
And just to record in French, because we did sort of say, oh, well, maybe if we love it, we could do some episodes in French eventually and sort of like go back and forth.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. So that sort of just brings us into our first theme, because today we're going to talk about not only the concept of unedited, we're going to talk about also about Web 3.0 or Web 3, whatever you want to call it, and I'm sure that you've seen quite a lot about it recently and over the past year. And then we're going to finish off with Westworld, the TV show.
Yes.
So I want to know your thoughts, Romina, on sort of unedited as a concept, but even for the podcast and sort of what that means to you.
Well, I think that, we already spoke a little bit about that in previous episodes. And I don't know if it's proper to like, women or what is expected for women, but we have this idea of always be like perfect, right? Like perfect manner, perfect looking, like there's no a hair like going like that because, so this kind of like perfection, like perfect makeup, kind of like hiding the imperfection of being a human, right?
Yeah.
And
Effortless beauty, right? That brings us back
exactly.
to one of the themes that we've covered already.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And even like we said that previously, that Instagram is, like a perfect world where everyone's happy, everyone's good looking, everyone's young. But
Yeah,
what's
duh.
behind all of
Yeah.
those pictures is all the work, all the editing, all the Photoshop, all of the things, all of the work that was put into that image to make it look as maybe unrealistic or as robotic if you want. And sometimes, real life actresses or even models would
Yeah.
say, oh, this picture, like, I don't look like myself, because
Right.
there's just so much like Photoshop, so much editing. But that's perfection in nowadays, and it's been like that for few decades even. So for sure, this first episode on unedited, it's a challenge, and even the idea of it can seem a little bit scary because
Yeah,
we're not used to it. And again, as women, we have this ideal of not showing our imperfections, not showing, us swallowing or breathing in the while recording this podcast. So I think I like challenges myself. So in my case, I see this as a challenge, as why not? Let's try it out.
Yeah.
But I think I'm like overthinking maybe a little bit too much. So every time I'm breathing, I'm like, just in case.
Yeah, well, me too. Like, I'm someone who, like, I, like, swallow a lot. And, like, like, so it's like I'm always trying to go, like this. But, yeah, I think, you eventually sort of pick it up. And it's really interesting what you said, because I almost feel like this era that we're in of the natural look, unedited,
Yes.
just this is me. I woke up like this is almost more damaging than when it was over the top Photoshop, and you can tell. And what I mean by this is that there are a lot of aesthetics right now. And I mean, whether that's in the podcasting world or Instagram or whatever, where, as we said, it comes off as if we just press record and we don't swallow or breathe. That's just how we do it. And it's all natural. And, this is just an easy going conversation. But as I said, there's so much editing behind that to make it look like a conversation where you only hear our voice and, like, us speaking perfect English or whatever, still with an accent, but you know what I mean. And so even the trend, I don't think it started on TikTok, but that's where I saw it a lot, where you'll have the no makeup look. And and I was like, at first I was like, oh, nice, like, it's like, I guess
It
it'll
looks
be really a
natural.
lot of, like, and, like, you'll focus more on skincare, right? And, like, getting that skin to, like, a nice whatever, like, tone or something.
Right.
But I used to watch those tutorials and I was like, wow, that no makeup look has, like, more steps than my makeup look. Like, it's just, it's about not looking like you have makeup, but you not looking like you're a human either, because you have no more pores. Your skin glistens with sparkles in certain areas as it does not naturally.
Normal, yeah.
Yeah, and so I feel like now we're in this era of, I look like this and I want to be my authentic self and all that. So people go in with those assumptions of, oh, wow, like, she looks like that when she wakes up, because we're pushing that ideal. But it's just sort of this more witty, or not witty, but more the smarter way of editing and of doing your makeup and all that, that looks very effortless, very easy, very, I woke up like this. But it's actually it's actually just as many steps. It's just different, and it's just in ways where it's less noticeable or less intense or cakey.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's the same thing for Instagram, because maybe we're posting low key, selfies or whatever, but it's like the 50th selfie that you took in front of the window that you're gonna post, right?
Right. Yes,
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Like you said, it's the effortless look. It takes even more effort
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
if it was, just like blue eyeshadows and whatever. Everyone knows you have a makeup, so go ahead. No, you're right.
Yeah.
And we live in this world where you are supposed to be perfect, but again, like you said, and like we said in past episodes, without any effort, and that's very unrealistic,
Yeah.
because if we would really not put any effort at all, then maybe it would be more authentic, maybe it would be better.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's campaigns now, more and more people showing, like, this is who I look usually, and it's because I have to like hold my stomach and do a kind of
right.
pose,
Yeah, the
and
angles,
that's
yeah.
exactly. So now more and more people are showing like their true face and saying like it's okay not being perfect, because even myself, when you look into my account and I look like perfect, that's not who I am. And
Yeah.
like it takes a lot of effort, so let's just like accept ourselves as who we are. But yes, I mean, now, and not only on Instagram but also like in the dating world, in the modern dating world too, like Tinder and those kind of platforms, now you try to put always like your best picture. So the picture that is, you look the, like you said, like no makeup look, because if you put your face, a picture of your face that just woke up, it might be not as perfect as that picture. So which one would you put in your dating modern application, right? What's gonna be like the most popular? What's gonna be the more attract, that will attract more people? But yes, and I'm wondering really how it's going to be now with the pandemic and so on. People are getting more and more isolated, and signs of depression and a lot of things like that. So that's why they're creating like new digital worlds. So I don't know if you heard, well, probably, about the metaverse, which is going to be like a life-changing thing, like the new Matrix almost. And you can go and have a date with someone on this like Matrix world, but your avatar, like, I'm wondering what is it going to be like, how it's going to be even in new relationships or dating, how is it going to be like, how much will that affect? And when they're going to meet in real life, which I hope that's like the objective, in dating, are they going to be like deceived because they don't look like their avatar? Or I don't know, it's just, I have so many questions, but it's going to be a new world.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think certainly, what's online right now, and in regards to this sort of like unedited slash but a little bit edited slash flawless look, it's not so much what we have to do, but it's certainly what we've come to expect, right?
Yep.
On platforms and on social media and stuff like that. And I think that it's weird. It's a weird paradox, because yes, on the one hand, we're moving towards, we just want to be us. And there are amazing creators that I don't want to take away from, that do really show or seem to show their real selves, with their flaws and their also their perks, right? Their qualities, not their perks, but their qualities. But oh, my cat. Being at home. But yeah, I don't think the metaverse came from or because of the pandemic. I think it was already something. But you say that, and when it comes to dating and a lot of things, I think right now the issue with the metaverse or Web3 and all of that is that we're really looking at it from a point of view of how we are right now. And even for like meeting up, and if we want to talk about whatever intimacy relationships entail, I saw, I don't know if it was either Elon Musk or what's the
Marcus
yeah, I always
Zuckerberg.
you already knew that I forgot his name because I
Yeah,
always
I
forget
knew.
his name. Mark Zuckerberg. Because I always
Yeah.
want to call him, is it Mark? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I always want to call him like Zach Wahlberg. I don't know why, but anyways.
Okay. Well, the Z,
Fair
yeah.
enough. Yeah. He was one of those two men, and we're not surprised that it's them when it comes to the metaverse and Web3, but
Mm.
they had on these gloves that you can actually feel texture.
Yes. Yes.
So my thoughts are, if we're going to be avatars who are going to be not only dating, but working, making money, having a social life all online, I'm
It's
sure that
Matrix.
eventually it's going to be about us having something that we can feel everywhere, if you know where I'm getting at, right? In the metaverse. So I don't know if there's going to be that intent or interest to actually meet up, which is crazy. I know it's crazy, and I know we're not
Oh, I
there yet, but
see.
it's a thought that I've had, right? Because I think that there are so many aspects of Web3 that you can look at. But certainly one thing that we can agree on when we're looking at that is this world, like, it's just not working for, our generation and other
Yeah.
generations. Like, we're
And for our
never going to be
needs.
able to like have a
Yeah.
home and, in this market. And so, like, my Sims have way better houses than me, than I ever will. So it's like, I understand the interest,
I
and I
understand. Yeah.
understand the my mom, I always talk to her about it because I'm super into NFTs. And that's a theme or a subject in itself. As a woman being in that space, it's quite
Mm.
quite special. But she's
Mm.
like, oh my goodness, it's so scary, the metaverse, and people need to go on walks outside. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but like, how long are we going to be able to go on walks outside? And I don't mean to make this podcast super dark, but these are questions, and I think we need to stop viewing this world as like just replacing what we're living right
Yeah.
now, and
Yeah.
actually consider what we're going towards and how this might not save us, but certainly give us a good option.
Definitely. And I studied economics, and the introduction, all of the like introduction classes, they started with, and this was like, a question on the exam, and it's so
Okay.
like evident and obvious, but anyways, it says that everyone, sorry, I'll repeat. So it says that our needs are unlimited, but the resources are limited.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, because our needs are really unlimited, sorry. So, when you want the guy, then you find the guy. And then he has problems, you will always find some kind of like a problem with him. And then you want to get married, and then you want a house, and then you want a dog, and then you want and even though you have all of this needs that are met, and I'm not talking like overall, because everyone has different needs, of course.
Yeah.
But even though you have all of your needs met, you still want something more. And I'm not against it, because at the end of the day, that's ambitions in my mind. That's what ambition looks like. And you need to have like different like short-term goals and long-term goals. And every time you meet them, you need to make new ones, because otherwise, what is your purpose? But the problem is that more and more our needs are towards material. So it's very materialistic. So it's not like I want to find a great balance between work and my lifestyle, or I want to have a great, diet, not necessarily a diet, but to eat, like healthy, or I want to do sports. So, that's like something that I can achieve because it's towards me. But now our needs are more and more redirected to other people. So now my expectation is towards you. So I want Esther to do all of the editing, example, right? Don't worry, we'll do half. But that kind of expectations, they are extremely dangerous, because now we're expecting things from outside. So in a sense of, I don't just want one house, but I want 10 houses so I can, rent them. And I mean, that's okay. That's a business. But at the same time, are you really thinking about that family that has no money to buy a house because you bought all of the houses that are
Mm.
out there, So that's the problem, is that our needs are more and more materialistic. And that's why in this world we're like overpopulated. We are having needs that are, over what you will really make of use, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you have like $700 million, because are you really going to spend $700 million towards all of your life? I don't think so. At the end of the day, it's just, accumulation of money that you may never use in its totality. So, but at the same time, there are other people that they're living $1 a day. So that's why they had to like recreate a world where, it's digital. So you can have 30 million houses if you want, but you won't, because you'll know that you won't really use them. So,
Yeah,
well,
but you know what? Like, I think what you're talking about is a lot. It has a lot to do with human nature.
yes.
And no matter which world we're in, I think that's going to transfer over, in my opinion,
Yeah.
And ironically, although this is, or this may be, or this may already be an option, sort of compared to the actual world, Web3, I mean, I think also it's important to know that a lot of the aspects within it, if not all, are really bad for the environment.
Well,
And
of
so it's kind of
course.
ironic, because if it's an
Yeah.
option eventually, because we know that there is a climate crisis, and then we're sort of transitioning towards something that's an option, but that is accelerating the detriment of that climate. It's quite ironic, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But of course, I don't know. I'm not an expert, of course, to know the difference. What is, let's say, um, environmentalist
Mm-hmm.
professionals, like they will, as you know, they
Oh, I
will
know
not
what you mean.
do any like, they will compose, they will, less wrapping, or some kind of like healthy healthy habitude
Habits?
habits, thank you, to like save the planet, and one of their like healthy habits to save the planet is also like go to your email and delete all of the, all of her emails that, they were read, they were replied, they were anywhere, anyways, whatever. Because apparently having a space in your computer or in the cloud, if you're using Gmail, in the Google Drive or whatever, takes space not only in the virtual world, but also is indirectly affecting the environment.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, how much is that of a good solution, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to tell and it's hard to measure.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that, again, whatever problems we have, I do understand your point that Web3 is like this decentralized utopia, if you will, in the sense that
Yeah.
it is to give access to more people. We've talked about it when we talked about crypto in one of the episodes, and in order for people to have more access to it. But yeah, I still think that a lot of our bad human habits are going to transfer over into Web3. That's not even a question. And that I think one thing that's really cool though is that from what I've seen in the NFT world, anyone can make money. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying this in the sensationalized way that you see on TikTok, where it's like, I bought this for 100 and now it's worth 2 million. No. Like that happens, but it's very rare. But I'm just saying, like, if you do your research and you have access to a computer and Wi-Fi, which again we take for granted, that's not everyone. And also money, I guess, to get started, because not everyone has a couple hundreds or a couple thousands to invest. So if you consider all that and you're able to get into it, then it's quite a nice way to make money right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's really sketchy too. Like there are a lot of scams. So yeah, of course, be
To be
safe out
careful.
there.
Yeah. But it's like everything now, we talked about in previous episodes as well that AI may um uh,
AI may what? You can say it in French and I can translate it if you want.
I forgot the word.
Oh.
Uh, replace. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. That AI may replace, politics. We said that before.
Yeah.
And as much as it comes with so many pros points and, it has so many perks, there will always be the access to hackers. And in that same line, like I said before, I mean, this is not any news, but I am diabetic. And before, diabetic people would, and when I was a kid, I would take a syringe and, like put my amount.
Mm-hmm.
But now I have like this amazing little apparel, and I have an insulin pump, which is, so much better because I don't need to, put out the syringe and actually like inject myself. But this comes also with the risk of not working, of not being charged because I need to charge it USB. So everything that is online or that is, like digital platforms or anything like that, yes, it's exactly because it's innovative. It is accomplishing a purpose, and it's more accessible. And I'm not saying that all about it is bad, but everything comes with a risk.
Yeah, but
exactly.
Doesn't it beg the question though? And let me know if you agree with this, but because I got, and I say this very embarrassed, embarrassed, if you will. But I got scammed on an NFT and I spent a lot of money on it. And let me tell you, I am the queen of research, And,
oh my God.
Some people might say it's because I'm a woman. No. But, yeah, I got scammed and it was so bad because I was at a ski resort. I was in BC.
Okay.
And I was living my best investor life, like I'm at a ski resort on my laptop. Like she's a she-wolf. She's an investor. She made it, right? So I get this NFT that I really wanted. And mind you, the first NFT I got is so ugly. I don't even want to look at it. And then after doing some research, I was like, I'm going to get this for me. Like I'm going to do me. Like, and the first rule of that, and some people might disagree that that's the first rule, but one that I agree with is you have to like the art, right? And at first I was doing it like, no, like, because a lot of the NFT art I really don't like and I don't understand it,
Okay.
And so I was getting my second NFT, which was the scam. And I thought it was really cool. I was like, not only is it like nice, but it has like a really cool roadmap. Discord community is, awesome. Let's do it. Let's get it. And I did all the research. And the one thing that I don't know how to do, which maybe would have helped, is to read like code, to read like actual contract links. I can't do that. I'm trying to learn, but it's harder.
Right.
So I got scammed. And what I'm wondering is, in this new age, new world, given the fact that our generation is supposed to be quite good with the internet,
technology, well, yes, but it's so large,
technology,
right?
yeah. Is it that we're sort of getting old in this new idea of the new web, right? And so that's why I was not able to spot it. Or is it because the scams are getting better? Or is it because they're simply different because it's a new idea, it's a new innovation, and so it's different, right?
Yeah.
I really don't know.
It can be a mix
what
of
the answer
everything.
is. Yeah, it might be. It might very well be, but
well, except the part where you say you're getting too old. I think that this world,
I don't know.
But
Maybe we gotta admit it to ourselves.
No, I disagree with that. But I think that internet, like specifically internet, because internet already is very large, like are we talking computers? Are we talking games? Are we talking, medical systems? Like internet is pretty much everywhere. right?
Yeah.
In all like platforms, in all fields of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with that is that it's changing so fast. And even, AI is, there's a specific term that I cannot remember at this moment, but where the robot
It's constantly
learns.
like learning. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So when you program a robot that will learn for itself, I mean, you can only expect always updates, right? Like new updates, new learning, a whole thing, because the robot is learning itself. It's crazy. It's amazing. So the only criteria to be kind of like update, and be able to understand this new world
Mm-hmm.
is to, it has this condition that you need to be not only open-minded, because that's not what I'm saying, but
A
more.
constant student of the world.
Yes. So
Yeah.
that's the only condition. You need to be like ready to receive all of that
Mm-hmm.
information and really to take up the challenge,
Yeah.
Like, what is it going on? What is this? Why is this? Like, there are so many questions about
Mm-hmm.
it. So you're never like on top of the things, because the world is constantly changing.
Yeah.
Every minute is like new update, new update, new update. So the only condition again is to be to be able to. Oh my God, I have so much trouble today to find my words.
No, you're good.
Thank you. Adaptable. That's
Okay.
the thing.
Yeah.
So that's the only condition, to be able to adapt to new changes,
Mm-hmm.
because there will always be, and there will always be.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God, because imagine if we would like stuck in the 70s and that's it for the rest of our lives. I mean, that would be kind of boring, especially for us women. But but
Yeah.
that's the only condition, is to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
And now, and we saw it, even in the pandemic, with real life businesses.
Moving. Yeah. And transitioning to online.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They had to. I mean, if you had a business and you didn't have a website, you didn't have an email, you didn't have a platform online, I'm not saying that is difficult or that is impossible, but it was certainly, they need to move few things, otherwise they wouldn't succeed.
Yeah.
They wouldn't succeed. You need to have a presence online. You need to have an Instagram account. You need to have a Twitter account.
Yeah.
You need to have like a community. You need to answer your emails. You need to have a little bit of basic knowledge to, open up an email and be able to do some kind of things. Because even
Yeah.
the government, they had to like switch to so many digital platforms now, that it wasn't the case otherwise, because you can go wait in line, I don't know how many hours, and you'll know that someone will come up to you and talk to you and whatever, help you out with that. Even banking, like online banking, a lot of people that they thought it would be so much, there will be so much danger, or that they may be hacked, or that they will lose all of their money. At the end of the day, they had to switch for online banking somehow. I'm not saying that for every day or every account or everyone, but most people, they needed to switch to online. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they will be like blocked.
Yeah,
in so
and I
many
think
ways.
adaptability, it's important to keep in mind that it stems from privilege, because I think that a big issue that we see not only through our work but through just social issues that have come up during the pandemic. We've seen numbers rise in Quebec in regards to domestic violence, which is, it's very unfortunate. And I think there is an issue of accessibility. And that's the first step when you're not privileged in society.
Yeah. There is and there isn't. I kind of like, agreeing and disagreeing with you.
Our first argument of 2022.
Yes. Cheers to that. If only all of the arguments could be, as easy. No, but the reason why I can disagree with you a little bit is because I think that privilege usually comes with stability. And, the opposite would be not being privileged, so not having stability. And when you are not, you don't have stability. Let's say me, okay? My story. So I was born in Peru. I came here at 10 years old. And the reason why, we came to Canada is because, of course, Canada and Peru, Canada is a first world country. So of course I would have more chances, more opportunities here than there. And the fact that I'm diabetic too. But anyways, so I wasn't privileged. I was in Peru and we had to come here. And I moved many times before, and even now, like I am in this apartment downtown Montreal, but I want to, buy a house with my boyfriend and so on. So I don't consider myself, physically stable in one place. And who knows what's going to happen in the future? Maybe I will live somewhere else in another country. I don't know. But all I know is that I have the skills to be adaptable. And I had those skills because, unfortunately, I wasn't stable when I was a kid. I wasn't, not like my boyfriend that he was born in one house. Well, he was born in a hospital, but you know what I mean? Like he only knew one house. And then he lived in that house for so many years until he was, old enough to like move, and it was his first move. And I'm not saying that he's not adaptable, but I think I have more skills of adaptability because of my circumstances, because of, how many times I had to move, how many times I had to like make new friends, how many times I had to, change the language, because at first I was just speaking in Spanish, and then I learned French, and then I learned English. So, I think that sometimes adaptability is the skill that you have, like one of the perks to be not privileged. And I'm not, again, I'm not like talking for everyone, but I think that it's not a skill that you only develop when you're privileged. I think maybe. Yeah.
No, and I agree with you, but I think that it's two different things because you're talking about, learning that skill, which is adaptability. But I feel as though whether you learned it or not, you're able to use that skill, whether it's in your, your wheelhouse or whatever the expression is. You're able to use it only when you're in, a privileged spot. And I think that stability, sure, we can say, oh, well, it's when I'll be in a home, but you have a roof over your head. You're able to pay your bills. Like you pay your groceries. Like I'm not talking about that sort of instability of like, I want to make, like to have a family and a home and a dog and all that. I'm talking about instability, like you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're unsure if you're able to pay your rent type of thing, right?
But I still disagree with you because in that case, in that scenario that you said, you're living paycheck on paycheck, another skill that comes up from that is creativity. Because let's say you only have $10 and you're like, oh my God, I only have $10 until the end of the week. Mm-hmm. Well, today we're Friday, so it comes pretty handy. But no, let's say we're like on a Monday and you have 7 days until your next paycheck and you have $10 and your fridge is empty. Then you'll need to be creative to come up with a solution. Either, to use that $10, either go to, I don't know, to some kind of place that will help you, or you need to have like a plan. You need to have at least a little bit of creativity to come up with $10 worth of groceries, however, that will last until your next paycheck, because you can die if you take the $10 and you buy a Big Mac trio and whatever, it's already done. I mean, that was your last meal. But again, you need to adapt to this new scenario, which is I have $10 for 7 days. Mm-hmm. So I think that adaptability absolutely needs creativity. And those two, they can, you can develop those two
Yeah.
skills either in a privileged or not privileged.
Sure, but I don't think you
situation.
can have neither if you don't have accessibility. And that's more what I meant, right? Like you can be creative and you can be adaptable, but if you don't have a laptop and access to Wi-Fi, for whatever reason, whether that be your situation at home, financially, socially, you know, whatever reason, that's just not going to be possible. So, you know, it's the only thing.
Of course. For
Yeah.
NFT and this whole new world,
Mhm.
yes, you need to have some kind of privilege.
Yeah.
Either you herited it or you created it.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
need to have, like you said, a computer and Wi-Fi and so on.
But I do think that it is more inclusive and it's, you know, more people can participate in that sort
It
of
is.
web economy of it. Yeah, for
Yes.
sure.
But like you said, you need an investment at first. You need to have money at least to be able to invest, or you need to have money to buy your actual computer or whatever. So it does comes with it's a privilege, yes.
Yeah.
But it's more accessible than, you know, you need to have X amount of money to make it, to create a business like it was back in the days where internet wasn't a thing. Then the only way to like have so much money is to create your business, and to create a business, you know, it takes money. So again, but yes, I think it's all to say that
very interesting topic for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's always so important, I think, to both of us to explore these topics, and also to always keep in mind that we're exploring them from a very privileged Western perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
Because again, you know, we talk about accessibility and internet, and a lot of these things are not in every country, you know, and we certainly take them for granted. And so, yeah, I do think Web3 is a really cool opportunity for a lot of people. And I'm hoping that accessibility to internet and to ways of connecting, whether that be for your security or just for your economic benefits, becomes more of a thing everywhere, you know.
Right. But if we stay in that line, social wise, I don't know how much it's benefit for it, you know, for like social interactions and so on. I think that we do lose some kind of social skills that we have developed in this like reality world, because we're switching that now into digital platforms like and again, Metaverse. I mean, it can be an amazing tool to, you know, let's say if you have like some kind of you're disabled disability, yes, you have a disability of not being able to walk, but then you put the Metaverse and now you have an avatar that you can, maybe, I don't know if you can feel it, but at least you can run, or you can, you know, like go this place to this place, and you know, it can be so much like an open door to so many opportunities. But then you come back to your real life and you're like, I need to put my wheelchair again, and I need to, like, you know, move with my wheelchair. So I think that those kinds of scenarios of two kind of situations for the same person can lead to, like, well, like we said before, depression, or even like expectations not met. Real life can be very boring when, you know, you put your glasses and now you have access to the whole ocean and all of those animals, and then you can even touch them, or you can touch a dinosaur or whatever. Then you took them off and you're like, well, I'm here again.
Yeah.
So, you know, social wise, I think that this will not only make the reality more boring, but also our definition of who we are, you know, in real life, or who we are in the game. It can lead to like a lack of pleasure, a lack of, you know, this ideal of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And, you know, when I say accessibility, in parts that don't have any, I'm talking about the bare minimum, right? I'm not talking about them being completely engulfed in the metaverse. So that's one thing. But then there's a different thing that you brought up, which is, to completely immerse ourselves in the
Yeah.
metaverse. I still think that it's difficult to look at the metaverse and compare it to our actual world right now, because you kept saying when we come back to reality. And the truth
Yeah.
is, we don't know what that
We don't
reality
know.
is going to be, right?
Yeah.
But that's a really interesting point that you bring up for disabilities, because as you said, we can choose to be whatever we want in the metaverse. But what does that say then? And how is that going to impact diversity and inclusivity and the funding that goes into that, into services, into different aspects of our reality that we're in right now to support and help?
Yep.
I wonder how that's going to impact that. There's no answers, I think, but
Yeah.
it's certainly interesting to look at it and to consider it. And that's why I think that, when you bring it up, or even when I was talking about it with my mom, and it kind of not scared her, but it begs the question of saying, well, then why would we, ever come back to our reality if we're living this, our best life in the metaverse? I think there's a question of, well, what are we going to come back to? Is there going to be anything that we come back to? And I know that is a scary question, but I think it's interesting to look at it that way, because I think that's what it's intended for, in the sense of not that they don't want us to ever come back, but as I said, if it's an option or a solution to the environmental state of our world, it might not be constructed for us to want to come back, because maybe there won't be much to come back to.
Yeah, no, I think, and when you say that, I really am imagining, the movie The Matrix. And I know I said it many times in this episode, but that's how I see Metaverse,
Romina is navigating being a mom to a fur child, and it's about adaptability, Romina.
Okay. So my point here is that every time we talk about the metaverse and so on, I do imagine the Matrix. And for those who haven't watched that movie, I mean, first of all, where have you been? Because you really need to watch it. And it's very interesting because now it goes, beyond the reality, beyond social, psychological, physical field, but it's like philosophical, even as you said. Why would we want to come back to this like boring, full of poverty? Now it's like COVID and no one can go outside, no one can go visit new countries, or at least we're more limited. You cannot go to a restaurant and enjoy a meal with your friend and so on. But if I had this chance to like recreate a new world, that I will be able, just to like think, okay, I'm going to China right now, and boom, I'm teleported, and we don't know exactly how it's going to be, but in any cases, I feel like we'll have this ability to recreate a world for ourselves. So now the question is, why? Like, what do I envision for myself? Who am I as a character? Am I like a good one? Am I like one of the bad guys? I can be anything, right? So it comes with this philosophical question, and it doesn't matter if I'm the good or the bad person. I can do whatever. I can kill you because we're avatars, and I'm not like really killing you. So, but in any cases, I can do everything. So now this world is full of opportunities. I can be everything. So why would I even come back to my, limitations or to anything? And I think that it's a very dangerous question. And the only reason why I think it's like amazing, this new world, or at least this new tool, I think it will be amazing for like war, instead of killing real life
You just get your
soldiers.
aggression out.
Yeah,
In
you know,
the
imagine just having
metaverse.
like two governments, and they're like, okay, I'm going to
Let's
attack
settle
your.
this in the metaverse.
Exactly, that will be awesome. And then you're like, oh no, I'm dead. Okay, well, I tried my best, but you're not really dead. So for me, that would be like good. But it can be very scary for other people because how do you even make the difference with this is the digital world and this is the real life world?
Yeah, and I understand that those questionings, and that's why I think they're two different things, because
Yeah.
it's one thing to say if our world as we know it right now, or quote unquote reality, stays the same, which it won't, but let's just say it stays
We
the
don't know.
same. I think
Yep.
it comes at a point where it's like we have this metaverse and we have this real world. And if
Yep.
things are going to be settled politically in the metaverse, I feel like it's because in this reality, there's not much that's going to be going on, right? So there is a difference between the dangers of then coming back to reality,
Yeah.
but that's assuming that reality stays the same. But if you're talking about now resolving political issues in the metaverse, it's not going to be the same. So again, it's more the question of, are we going to have to ask ourselves, either it's going to be easy because our world as we know it won't be the same, blah, blah, climate change, all of that, versus it's going to be the same, and then it's going to be sort of this psychological question that's going to be posed on society, right? So I think that's two different things, right?
It is two things, and that's where the question needs to be addressed, is for who. So, you know, as we said, maybe for an army or for a political purpose, it will be very good. It will be beneficial because we're not burning down real life houses and real life families are being, you know, forever damaged with traumas. But if it's for everyone and it's open for everyone and you can do everything, now I'm thinking about Westworld, where again, you are your own character. You create your own kind of narrative. And we talk about that before too, you know, that we have our own narrative. So in your story, Esther is the main character, and you know, she lived injustices. She made justice. She woke up. She fell. She stand up. So you know, we have so many narratives, and we recreate stories in our head that make sense and is coherent to kind of like to explain who we are now.
Okay.
That, you know, all of our experiences has built the character that I am now. But in this new world, you don't know. You know, you can start from zero and say like, okay, I'm starting this clear and clean, or I can be an asshole because, you know, I was so kind in my life that this is an opportunity for me to recreate a new character. And you know, it's a lot like Westworld. And for those who haven't watched the TV show, I have a small description of what it is. I found it in the website Rotten Tomatoes, which is, you know, pretty well known.
I haven't seen it myself either. I mean, I know a little bit about this show, but I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, no, definitely. For me, it took time. Maybe like the first episode, you're like, "What is this?" It's like a new idea, a new concept.
Yeah.
But then you get attached to the characters and to like the storyline and so on. So for the description of the TV show, Westworld isn't your typical amusement park intended for rich vacationers. The touristic park, which is looked after by robotic hosts, allows its visitors to live out their fantasies through artificial consciousness. No matter how illicit the fantasy may be, there are no consequences for the park's guests, allowing for any wish to be indulged. So what it means is that we're in a futuristic world where there's a physical attraction park. So it's not like a metaverse, okay? So it's
okay.
Yeah, it's like a physical place. It's like a little island or so on. You need to take a train and so on to arrive.
Nothing good ever happens on islands. Guess we
Yeah.
haven't learned. Okay, so it
Exactly.
happens on an island.
So it's, yeah, it's like an island. So it's like very small and separated. And the whole thing, well, it's small. It's pretty big for what it is. But, it's not like a country. Anyways.
Country.
Well, I don't know if it's anyways. Anyways. So what happens is like, um, you arrive to this like attraction park, amusement park, that is full of like country themes. So everyone's like dressed as cowboys or cowgirls. They are like just like the typical
Yeah, it's like very
cowboy life.
much like carnival sort of like staff greets you.
Exactly. And but it's
Okay.
like, it seems like you just travel in the past. Okay.
Okay.
And
Okay.
everyone, so the robots, because they're not humans, they're robots.
Yeah.
They look like normal people.
Yeah.
So you cannot make the difference between a
Right.
robot or not a robot. So you arrive, of course, it's like super expensive, and you can see like all of the rich vacationers that come there.
Okay.
They have like their suits, their cowboy suits, so they match with the theme. They can choose their pistols or their guns or whatever,
Okay.
and you have like the whole thing. So
Yeah.
you arrive,
Yeah.
and basically they tell you you can be whatever you want.
Mhm.
So you can point the gun, and if it shoots and the person dies, it's because it's a robot. So don't worry, you can rape them, you can kill them, you can torture them, like do whatever you want. And if you cannot, shoot at someone, it's because that's a person. And, you can fight that person, you can do whatever, but just you cannot kill them because it's a rich person. So you cannot mess with humans. You can only mess with robots. But they're pretty much, they look exactly like humans.
Yeah.
And what is very interesting about this story is not only how realistic everything looks like, and the experience of emerging into a world that doesn't really exist,
Mhm.
because it was recreated and they are robots
Mhm.
who are programmed to have their own narrative.
Yeah.
But something very interesting in this TV show is that, and I don't know if how much I'm spoiling here, but that they develop consciousness. So
Yeah.
the robots,
That's what I heard.
exactly, they remember their life. So they have a narrative. So it's like, oh, I was pregnant, but then I lost the kid. In reality, no, because you're a robot, so you cannot be pregnant. But they have this like thing in their mind, and they remember some of their like past lives, because they died and they came back to life, so they were like reprogrammed. But some of them, they like remember, and they're like, how come I have so many like past lives? What is this? And then they discover that they are robots. So that's another like questioning, like, oh, am I even real? Like very philosophical, because they are developing consciousness. So it's like, oh, wow, they are conscious of their situation. They're conscious of who they are. They're conscious of what's going on. And I mean, it's a very unfair world for these robots, because all you see is murder and blood and tortures and stuff like that. For humans, they go there, they do whatever, and they come back to their life, and they're not cheaters, they're not murderers, they're not thieves. They were simply having fun.
Mhm.
They were playing in their amusement park.
Mhm.
So it's very interesting, because this experience, at least this like in the TV show, this Westworld experience, I'm sure impacted the real life of the players.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And for me, it would be the same thing for the metaverse. I mean, if you're there, you have your character, you kill people, whatever. A little bit like Call of Duty, when you go, you kill people, and then you come back, and you're like, okay, that's all right.
Yeah.
But now, if you add sensations, if you add, knowing that you may hurt someone for real, or I don't know, it's just, there are so many questions about it. But yeah, Westworld is definitely a TV show that I recommend for you to watch, especially now that you are having a lot of interest with this NFTs and digital worlds. It's a must.
Yeah, I think it's a cool concept. I definitely think it's a concept that we've seen, and the reason for why we've seen it, I think that we've been asking ourselves this questions, like
Yeah.
sort of, and it's come up in real life
Yeah.
when I sort of alluded to bad things happening on islands, and it's come up in television as well. And one thing about Westworld that for me, when it comes to sexual assault, non-consensual assault, well, it's always non-consensual, but
Yeah.
sexual assault in the media, whether it's referring to a real story or it's fictional, I really don't like to watch it. And so that's why, whether it be Game of Thrones or Westworld, those are TV shows that I don't know if I will be watching. I understand that the concept is interesting. I think it we've seen it recently in Squid Games as well, but I think it's different for me because
it is.
This is about, and we've seen it in real life when people have influence, power, money, and they're put together and they're brought to this location where it's sort of like a free for all. You really see the worst in people. Whereas I feel like the metaverse, and I'm not saying the metaverse is going to be this happy, dinky little place where everyone, sings together and hold hands, but I don't know. It's different because it's going to be, I really believe it's going to be sort of this new quote reality. So then I'm wondering if the whole political, police, all that, if it's going to be different, but if there's still going to be this sort of like authority or something like that. And if people are going to really say, well, this is me, my life in the metaverse, or if they're going to take it as this video game, not real, free for all, fun little, adventure. So I think those are two different things. I definitely see how it could go wrong with what you brought up. It begs the question too of, video games. I think that's been like a question in psychology for years now, like whether or not this affects people who do play video games and who do
kids
immerse
or adults
themselves into that, right? So no, it's I think it's a really cool concept, and it's a lot of questions to be had. Again, I'm wondering, I think for me, the really interesting part of questioning myself when it comes to whether we go into the metaverse by choice or not, I think that's where it's going to make the most difference, because if we don't go in there by choice, and this is going to be because our world is unlivable and the metaverse is really the only place where we can live, because we're going to have to be hooked up to breathing machines with oxygen or whatever, and we're going to have to be sort of kept, in these capsules, if you will, in our reality right now, but then we're plugged in and we're able to live in another world. I kind of wonder where a lot of that psychology is going to transfer into that world or not, because I feel like as humans, we've always needed and allowed ourselves to have that space to question and to analyze, and I don't know if that's our only choice, if we're going to really bother to do that, because of course it's going to have an impact, as anything that's new does. And I think this is going to be an unseen sort of phenomenon, but if we don't have a choice, and it's how we survive as a nation, really doesn't matter how many articles they put out saying this is unhealthy to mental health, because it's like, well, then bye, so
you're right. It depends how it's going to be implemented.
And it's interesting because what we're bringing up, Westworld, Squid Games, it's a lot of social experiments based on this sort of like sleepaway camp for adults, right? Whereas this would
but it's
be
volunteering. They are volunteering for it. again, like Squid Game, it's
Yeah.
you decide to go there.
And
But it's a very good
with
question.
Squid Games in Westworld, one thing that is sort of troubling, as you said, is the question of, well, how does this impact them and what do they take back to their real lives? Whereas
Exactly.
for us, are we taking back anything? So does it really matter if that's all we know? So yeah, lots
Amazing
of
questioning.
yeah, but very interesting to kick off the new season. I think it's
Seriously, yes, and I think we need, and this is just going to be like a circle back, but we need again to make the difference between how scared we should be, or should we be scared at all, or simply be careful, of our actions and so on. And with that, I like to say that I'm reading an amazing book, like amazing.
Okay.
It's called The Actor, from a Mexican author. So I'm reading in Spanish. And his name is Don Miguel Ruiz. And something that he says is that we create our own character. So we are actors of our lives. And again, it goes with the narratives that we have in our mind and in our head, saying like, this is why I am this way. It's because of this event. But at the end of the day, it's just a simply angle that you choose to take of, all of your experiences. And it says that, yes, sometimes we are like stuck in this character, but we also have this opportunity, or in this opportunity to change who we are, because we created this character. So in that same sense, in that same idea, we can say that we can recreate our character, and you don't have to be like that for the rest of your life. You can change, but that power is within you. So again, we have to be careful with what and how we consume different things. Why is it important for us or not? What we can take from it, and construct our character as per our ideal of how we can change it, how we can improve, and why do we want to improve, for who, and doing what. So if we decide, all of us, to be better humans, we can do it. We just need to change the character, the role.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. But it does sort of like negate any trauma or any, right? Because like a lot of who we are is based on our trauma, on our experiences, on our upbringings. And I feel like
for sure
that's not something that we decide to hold on to. It's just, it's a psychology. So it's interesting. I wonder what his background is, because, and I also wonder like what he means in the extent of what we can change versus what makes us who we are based on things that we know to have happened or to be true consciously and unconsciously. I feel like there's a huge psychology aspect that would need to play into that, no?
Definitely. But he says that, your own character is usually fed not only by your own experiences, but also how do you portray yourself to others, or what you want to portray yourself to others. So, let's say you are always fashion and you want people to know you as the fashionista, then you're just feeding up that character. So it's...
Yeah, but that's like more like, that's easy, that's physical, but I'm talking about psychological.
That's physical. Yes, but they kind of come together. And it's something that, it's the role that you take into your life in different scenarios since you're a little person. Since you're a kid, basically, a little person. So, like I said, I'm not done yet, but it's
let me know. I'm interesting because I just like have a lot of issues with like sort of, seeing it as like, I don't know, like if someone has gone through a lot of things, and again, I'm quite privileged and have not, but if we're talking about someone that has gone through past trauma and we're like, yeah, but like you could just play another role and be happy. Well, no, it's not that easy.
No,
right?
it's not so that easy.
Like, I have questions. Like, you'll need to get back to us on this, because I'm intrigued now. Yeah.
But yes, and his background is that he comes from I don't know how old that civilization is, but in Mexico, there is a civilization still now that, has, it's not like recent. It's nothing that just happened.
Okay.
It comes like from the Maya and so on. And many of his books are about, kind of giving more perspective of, like ancient beliefs and how you can incorporate that into your life now, in this like modern world and so on. And the way how he writes is very smart. Like I said, I haven't finished it yet, but it's not something so like simple or simplistic as, you choose who you want to be and be happy because you can change it.
Yeah, I hope not.
No, it's not. It's very, very smart. But yes, and I'm still, at the beginning, so I don't have any answer.
Interesting.
But why not?
Yeah, very cool. Well, thanks for sharing.
My
I'm not
pleasure.
reading anything, so. But I do want to know, because you promised us that you would introduce Cusco and his name and what that comes from. So please show us the baby.
You want to see the baby?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on, I'll be back.
Cusco.
Okay, so as promised, here he is.
Oh my goodness. Oh my
This
God.
is my baby, and his name is Cusco. Like I said, the reason why I call him Cusco is because not only for the Emperor's New Groove, that is a Disney movie that is amazing. One of my favorites.
It is a religion. It is a staple of modern society as we know it. I love that movie.
But did you know that in that movie there was a lot of controversial,
No.
because it wasn't historical accurate. So Cusco is a city in Peru, which I am from, where it's next to or the Machu Picchu is there, or you have to take a train. So it's very near the Machu Picchu. Machu Picchu is one of the wonder worlds
In Peru.
In Peru,
Yeah.
exactly. And that civilization was the Inca Empire, and the king, let's say, because of course it was a man, wasn't an emperor, even though it was an empire, but he was the Inca. And anyways, that ancient civilization, the Inca Empire in Peru, it's just so interesting. They were very, very efficient. They were very advanced.
Yeah.
I mean, only the Machu Picchu is already like amazing. I don't know if you ever saw any pictures about it, but one thing is seeing the picture, and another is being there, because the energy is so strong, and it's just like, it's incredible when you see the whole thing. It's a big mountain, enormous, and they constructed a whole empire on it. And not only that, because there's a lot of physical challenges. You need to like breathe better and whatever. But they like created like a enormous fridge where they could store their food so it didn't go bad. Because again, there's not many resources on the mountain at that height. So people, they had to go, down, look up for food, come up, and then if it would spoil, it's a loss. So they needed to store in a fridge, and they created a fridge. They have like things for the water, and it was just like, oh my God, they are so ancient. They have 3 rules that my mom always like teach me, and well, of course, all of my knowledge about Peru, it comes from my mom, as I said before. And the 3 rules are: don't be lazy, don't steal, and don't lie. That was it. So it was a civilization that was extremely efficient, always doing something, always looking for new ideas, looking for how to, find a problem and what to do to like reverse that situation. So they would do something good about it. And the reason why I chose the name Cusco is because that's the name of the emperor in the movie. But in reality, he shouldn't be an emperor. He should be the Inca.
And do you know why? Like it was an empire, but he wasn't an emperor, and his like title was king rather than emperor?
In the movie, you mean?
No, like in the real world.
Oh, okay.
Historically.
Well, it was the Inca Empire, but it's because the Inca was like at the central of the whole thing, right? It's an Inca Empire, but the Inca was the king. So it was just a terminology thing.
Okay.
Yeah, but
so it created some backlash a little bit because it's called the Emperor's New Groove. Okay.
Exactly. And even how they showcase, the food or the culture, there was some like inaccuracy.
Okay.
Even though the whole thing was in Peru, the whole thing was in Cusco.
Yeah.
And that was his name, Cusco. So it was in Peru, but there was some inaccuracy.
Okay.
But anyways, just to finish with that note, that my baby is an Inca. The Inca Cusco.
The king.
And he knows. I think that's a role that, we put him in that kind of like
pedestal
idea, exactly, and he knows. So he think he's a king. He think he's the Inca.
Well, he is. So.
Well, he is. But I am the queen too. So sit down, little buddy.
Take your seat, sir.
Take your seat.
Aww.
Yeah.
I mean, we get to start a new season with like I don't like saying or calling animals mascots. You know how like when someone has a pet or something and it comes around like an office or even like in a podcast setting and you're like, oh, this is our mascot. I feel like that's like weird. Do you know what I mean? Because like a mascot is like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But he's our little podcast king.
Yes,
Aww.
he is. Small spectator. He's the only one who has listened to this new podcast so far.
But soon
exactly.
Everyone will, because that's what we're going for, unedited.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
so
cute his little face. Well, thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
We hope that you'll be with us for the entire season 2. And if you have not yet, please listen to season 1. There's some really good themes in there, and we're really proud of those episodes as well, even though there was a lot of learning. But yeah.
And let us know what you think about this episode.
Always.
What else we need to like. We have some requests to talk about different topics. So again, if you have any idea, feel free to like reach us. And yes, we're open to any new topic and participation. So this 2022 is gonna be a whole new unedited season for every one of us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
And that's a wrap. We hope you'll learn something while still having fun.
As always, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at stillhavingfunpodcast@gmail.com. We'd absolutely love to hear how we can continue to host a conversation that is safe, inclusive, and welcoming.
And until our next episode, we invite you to speak up so everyone can still have fun.